We've seen mean, median, mode, and range in middle school, and we're going to have a little refresher course here today. The mean is the average of your set of data. So if you take all of your numbers that you've got, add them up, and then divide by the number of numbers that you have, that will give us our mean. Median is the middle number, or it could be the average or mean of the middle numbers, and we'll see an example like that later on. Mode is the number or numbers that show up the most. We might have no modes in a set of data, or you might even have 2 or 3, just depending on what you see that occurs the most. And range is the difference, and we all know that difference means subtract, so range is the difference of our largest and smallest pieces of data. Let's look at our first example. We're finding mean, median, mode, and range for all of these. Let's start with the mean. That'll be the most difficult to work on. One thing I do want to point out is that we are going to always have to put our data set in order. So this is something, this little sentence here in red, it's very, very important that we do that. It's always a good idea to put your data in order from least to greatest before we even figure out what our mean, median, mode, range is. So let me look at this set of data that we have here. Smallest number is 15, so I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to cross it off my original list here. The next smallest number that I have is 28, so 28 goes next, and I cross that off my data list. The next number that goes in order is the 30, and I can write that down twice because there's 2 of them. And then the last number we have is 47. So now I have my data set in order from least to greatest, and for mean, what I'm going to do is add all them up. That is our very first step. So we take 15, 28, both of our 30s, and then the 47, and we're going to add all 5 of those numbers up. So let's do that. This will give us 150. So the sum of those 5 numbers is 150. The next step we're going to have to do is divide by the number of data numbers that we have. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to be dividing 150 by 5. And 150 divided by 5 is 30. So 30 is the mean of this data set. The average number is 30. Median is nice to see, especially if you've got everything in order, because you're looking for the middle number. And if I come back up here to our original data set, I see that I've got 5 numbers, and the very middle is 30. And since that is the exact middle, that's really easy to see and write down. That will be 30. The mode means the number or numbers that show up the most. So if we look over here, we can see that we've got 2 30s. Since 30 shows up twice more than any other number, 30 is also our mode. Range is the difference of the largest and smallest numbers. The largest number is 47. The smallest number is 15. So I'm going to take both of those, write the largest first, and subtract the smallest number from it. And we finally have a break in our pattern here because 47 minus 15 is 32. So for this first data set, we have a mean of 30, a median of 30, a mode of 30, and a range of 32. Not all data sets are going to turn out this nice, where you have lots of numbers that repeat, like our 30 for answers, but every once in a while you may see that. I do want to show you an example of what can happen when you have a data set of even numbers, and I want to show you what happens and how we find the median of that set of numbers. So let's look at this first data set. Step number 1 is to put everything in order. So I'm looking through my data set, and my smallest number is a 28. So that'll be the first one I write down. The next number in that sequence will be 29. After that, I have two 31s here. After that, we have a 34 and a 36. We're just going to be looking at median for this one, and median is the middle numbers. Now if you look here, we have 6 numbers here, and we don't have a number that's in the exact middle because we have 2 middle numbers, 31 and 31. So what we're going to have to do to find the median of this is actually take the mean of these 2 numbers, and that means average. So I'm going to take the 31s that I have and add them together, and we're dividing by the numbers that we're adding, so we're dividing by the number 2. So we have 31 plus 31, that is 62. We take that sum and divide by 2, which gives us 31. So for this data set, our median is 31. So if you have an even number in your data set, you're going to have to add your 2 medians and then divide by 2 to get the real median. Let's talk about what a stem and leaf plot is. This is a way to organize your data set so that it's a little bit easier to look at than a whole bunch of numbers. And for a stem and leaf plot, we use 2 columns. The left column is going to be used where you put all of your digits except for the digits on the very far right. So the left column includes every digit and every number except for the one on the far right. And the right column is going to be where we put that far right number. So our example 3 here, we have a large data set, and it would be helpful if we were able to put these in order. So let's go ahead and do that. My smallest number is 44. And then we have a 47. And then we've got a 50. And a 51. And another 51. And then 56. 58 is next. 59. 63. And 65. The last number will be 67. So now we have all of our numbers in order from least to greatest. So let's take our data set and put them into the table. I can see that I've got 40s, 50s, and 60s. So the leftmost column, we're going to write those numbers down in the tens place. We have 40s, 50s, and 60s that we're dealing with. Let's start with the 40s here. I have a 44 and a 47. The rightmost number, which will be the 4 and the 7, is going to go in the right column. So I'll write 4. So you can see we have 44 here. Then I'll write a 7, and that represents 47. For our 50s, I have a 0, 1, 1, 6, 8, and 9 as the furthest right numbers in the 50s. So we'll write those down too. There's 50, 51, and there's 2 of those. We have 56, 58, and a 59. Last, in our 60s, in the ones place, we have 3, 5, and 7. So I'll write 3 here, 65, and that represents 67. And this is my stem and leaf plot. A little bit easier way to organize your data. If you have any questions, make sure that you ask in class tomorrow.